Hello from Medigaland. I'm Jane, and today we are joined by my sister Yanti and her wife Jo. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So, today we're going to be talking about coming out, and this is probably not related to our MBA studies, but I think it's still quite important to stay authentic and be true to yourself. But before we go into that, Jo, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I'm a nursing and midwifery student. Apart from that, I'm just kind of a introverted, on the spectrum type person. I also have a degree in psychology and criminal justice, criminal psychology. So,
Wow. Yep.
yeah.
And where did you come from?
I'm hail from America, originally from Colorado, but I've lived all over the states. So
Wow. Nice. Okay. And how do you find Australia?
I love it. It's got a better work-life balance
Yep.
than America. So yeah, it's great.
Where have you lived in Australia so far?
So I started in Canberra, then moved up to Cape York, back down to Cairns, and now in Townsville.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And Yanti, we know all about you, but as we all know, we've changed, right, over the last 4 months.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself now.
Well, I guess the MBA program has really just elevated, aspects of, what I wanted to achieve in terms of developing my confidence and key skills in writing and I think now looking back, even though I'm halfway through it, I'm a completely different person. You'd asked me, 5, 6 months ago to talk in front of a group of people, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
awesome to see. Even
Yeah.
with your tone's changed. It's a lot
Oh,
more.
has it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it has,
okay.
right? Do you notice?
Right.
It's a lot more authoritative.
Okay,
in a
there
way,
you go.
So.
So sign up for the MBA program, folks.
Okay, awesome. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit more about your coming out story. Maybe start back from your childhood and when you first noticed, and then how you finally came out.
Well, I knew some things were changing right about when I was 14. And I really then believed when I was 15 that these changes weren't going to go away, that there was, an attraction, and it really, it really wasn't something that I chose, it just kind of happened. And so when I was 15, I knew that I was attracted to girls, but I really didn't come out until I was 26 actually. So it was about a period of 11 years where, not that I suppressed it, but I kind of just left it to the wayside.
Yeah.
Until leading up to turning 26, I had all of these kind of incidences happening. One of it was I almost took my own life because of it. And so that really kind of turned my direction in terms of really looking at accepting, this is who I am. It's not going to change. It's not a choice, because I don't think you choose to be gay or to kind of feel ostracized from society because you don't fit the norms. And so, yeah, it really started when I was 15, came out when I was 26. I actually told my mum and my sister in person, but I actually wrote a letter to my dad and my brothers. And that's actually how I came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
the very first person I actually told was my grandmother. And I actually got drunk at 6 a.m. in the morning when I told her because I was crying and,
Yeah.
and I just really didn't know how to tell someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was the first person to give me a hug and tell me that she loved me and that it was okay and that it didn't change how she saw me. And so that gave me the confidence then to talk to my family and to really, I guess, move on with my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from 14 to 26, that's a lot of time, especially for a kid, right? Because it felt like ages just to go through a year. Do you think it became like a really, this hard battle for you to well, one, to be at peace with who you are, and two, to really come out. Do you think that's made harder because it wasn't the cultural norm at the time when we were growing up?
Yeah, there wasn't very many kind of role models I could look up to, apart from maybe an uncle who was, very comfortable in who he was. Like, he was a feminine gay man, and he was just really loved by the community. But as far as a gay woman or a gay couple, there really wasn't anyone in my community that I could look up to. And so that kind of, it really changed how I was going to do it, because you're thinking about, culture, you're thinking about parts of your culture that's very conservative and traditional. And how do you approach that? Because I was the first person in my family to actually come out and say that I'm gay.
You feel like you don't want to disappoint in a really weird way as
and
well.
it was because I've read so many horror stories around people being disowned coming out to their families, whether they're Indigenous or non-Indigenous. And I thought that could happen to me, and it was a 50-50 chance.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's lovely. And what about you, Joe? What was your story?
So I've known since I was 5 that I liked girls, and I wasn't sure because you're taught as a kid that you're supposed to, like, if you're a girl, you're only supposed to like boys. So I told myself I'm supposed to like both, because I knew I liked girls, but society tells me that I'm supposed to like boys. So I was like, okay, fine, I like both. So in kindergarten, I did have both a girlfriend and a boyfriend.
Best of both worlds. Why not?
Because, and, we were little kids. Did we really understand totally what that meant? Not really. But again, that's that society push that, oh, you've got a little boyfriend, a little boyfriend. And so, we didn't know any different, that it was wrong in society's eyes. And then I struggled a lot with that internal fight throughout my life, because I also dealt with some childhood traumas and all that. And then when I was probably about 15, 16, really was struggling with it more, because that's,
you're going through adolescence. That's when all the hormones are coming out, so you
and
see it.
Everyone around you has a partner. So I dated guys because that's what society again said, and that's what my family was very strong about on both sides of my family. And then when I was about, what was I, 17, when I told my mom, and she goes, and?
So she knew.
I don't know that she knew so much as that her best friend growing up was gay. So she was just like, okay, and like, do you want a cookie? Like, what do you want me to say? And it wasn't really the acceptance that I was looking for, or the reaction I was looking for. It was kind of like, and now I don't even know what to do. But we didn't say anything to the family. It was still just my mom and I. My father has been estranged from me for most of my life. So I was 19 when he found out, and that was because he was trying to search through my phone, and I was trying to get my phone back from him, and then he was rolling through my friends, or my contact list, and was asking me, who's this person, and he came across my former partner, and he was like, who is this person? And I, told him, oh, that's my girlfriend. And he was like, oh, so you're gay? I finished the sentence for him. And I was like, yeah. And that's how that came out. But I came out as bi, again, to appease society, that if I at least make them think that I will end up with a man, they will accept me being gay. And it became a big problem in my mom's side of the family.
Again, it wasn't like a cultural norm.
No, I was the first to come out, and I had to keep it hidden because some of my family members made it very apparent that there are no gays in our family, and if they are, they will be disowned. And while that was the opinion of a few, or a couple,
Yeah.
it made me
It
nervous.
was loud enough. Yeah.
Yeah, for the whole family. And I was like, oh. And then I did deal with some discrimination later on when I was about 23 or 24 from the family as well. I was excluded from a family reunion event because I wanted to bring my partner, because everybody was bringing their partner,
Yeah.
so why shouldn't
Yeah.
I be able to? And they acted as though, you know, we have this gay agenda, and we were going to be pushing our gay agenda on the impressionable kids, and we were going to be, you know, slobbing all over our, you know, each other, and holding hands and fornicating and everything else in front of them. And we're the most respectful people. We don't even do that type of thing, but that's what was in their mind. So it did make things tough. And I think even now things are a little bit better with some of my family members, but I still have some that have never accepted me but accept my nieces and my nephews who are gay or some sort of on that spectrum. So I think it's still difficult for me because I was the first, and so I'm still ostracized by some of them. But the later generations are accepted. And I think the other thing that most people don't always realize with people coming out when they're gay is we don't get a day off from coming out. We're always coming out. We're always having to, in some ways, like if we hold hands in public, oh, you're gay. It's never just us being able to be.
You don't just do it once and that's it.
Yeah.
You get to live your life. It's like you have to constantly make it clear, justify almost.
Yeah. And explain, like, well, wouldn't it be easier if you were the man? Well, if it would be easier, then gays would never exist. Like, there would never be that spectrum of people. You know, nobody makes a choice to be ostracized, to be bullied, to be threatened with death, or for those that are killed. Pardon me. Why would anybody choose that? You know, it's a way that you're born, and it's when you finally realize it doesn't matter how many interventions you go through or how many come to Jesus meetings you have with yourself, it's not gonna go away.
You are who you are, and at the end of the day, your authentic self will shine through in the end. Right. What was dating life like? So you had to date guys just to fit into that, you know, society's norm. What was that like?
It was horrible. It was the most horrible experience. I don't know how real you want me to be, but you know, the myth that if women had to wait for an orgasm in order to have babies, they would never have an orgasm because guys don't know how to give orgasms. Well,
it's being real.
And being real, forcing myself into those
Yanti, no need to show off now. It's about for now.
Yeah, and forcing myself into those heteronormative relationships, it was like you never getting that satisfaction that you should get from your partner, and you feel guilty because this is supposed to be happy, this is supposed to be a good relationship, and it's like, I'm cool with you as a friend, but the moment you try to touch me, stop touching me, stop looking at me in that way, stop giving me the eyes, and it was just torture. And it was also me dressing feminine was for my family. You know, I wore dresses and skirts and heels and never did makeup, kept my hair long, kept it straight, kept myself nice all the time, presented myself as a peacock to other men, to, you know, whatever, but it was never a satisfaction. It was just a chore. It was just a means to an end to keep my family off my back until I finally said enough was enough. And that was probably when I was about 21, I think, before I finally said enough is enough, and I only started dating girls. And I did again try, I think, for another year or two to appease my family, and then I finally just gave up. Because there was no appeasing them, no matter what choice I made. It was kind of clear to them at that point that I was gay, and they weren't going to be able to turn me back the other direction. And
wow, awesome. I'm sorry you had to go through all that, but I guess you're all the more stronger for it, right? As well.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think also just because I had so much childhood trauma, it was an added trauma.
yeah. On top of everything else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things that you don't need from
Mhm.
anyone else.
Yeah.
Um, Yanti, you mentioned that you went through this really low point when you were up to a point when you actually was about to take your own life.
Yeah.
What was the point, turning back point? What saved you from that moment?
I think it was a literal image flashing before my eyes, and it was my mum grieving over my coffin. Like that was the literal image that came through, and it was just like she was grieving for years and years to come,
Mm.
that I wasn't gonna be there,
Mm.
and that kind of shook me back to reality.
Mm.
And I thought, I can't put my mum through that because she already nearly lost me as a baby, and so to then choose that,
Mm.
I was like, I can't be that selfish.
Yeah.
And so that then sort of gave me the strength to go, okay, I got to stay and do this for my family. The outcome would be they will accept me
Mm.
or they will reject me,
Mm.
but I'm just going to prepare for both.
Yeah.
And thankfully, they accepted me.
Yeah.
So when I told my mum that story, yeah, she broke down and she was like, I didn't realize you were going through all of that.
Mm.
But it took a while to get to that point where I could share what happened.
Mm.
Yeah. But it was literally that image that saved.
Yeah.
That saved me, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And what lessons have you learned from the time you were 14 until you actually came out? What life skills did you learn other than coping mechanisms, I guess?
Yeah. I think the worst one was, drinking constantly to try and numb the pain,
Mm.
because that pain was something that I've never experienced before. So it was really a deep, yearning pain that was just really embedded in my soul, and I couldn't get rid of it. So I guess alcohol was, one of those mechanisms. But I started to kind of, move away from that with my family's help. But it's a journey, hey. Like you go through these periods of really just cementing who you are, your identity, where you come from. And so it was a process of actually going back, looking at who I am, where I come from, knowing that my family accepts me, and knowing that they still love me. That gave me the courage to keep going, so that no matter the obstacles that came my way, that helped me to overcome that. And then from there, developing, just more assurance around my identity as well, knowing that being gay is just one aspect of who I am. It's not an all-encompassing part of me. It's just one part of me among many other things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you, Joe, what have you learned throughout? I mean, it wasn't a very pleasant experience, but we learned things throughout our challenges as well, right?
I think it was just more resilience. Just having to stick to my guns at one point, even to myself, having the self-talk to say enough was enough. I wasn't going to appease anyone because it wasn't making me happy. I was living my life for other people. So there was a few times I cut off my hair as rebellion to my family and stopped wearing girly clothes and started dressing as myself and standing up for myself. So I think it did kind of help give me more confidence to just be me, or to figure out who me actually was outside of my family telling me who I was supposed to be. Yeah, and I think that's something I'm still figuring out.
It's a journey as well, I think. So if you could now go back, knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 14-year-old self, when she's at that moment, when she's, dealing with internal struggles, what would you tell her?
That everything's going to be okay. It's going to work out, and that you are stronger than this moment right now. Yeah.
Cool. And you, Joe, what would you tell your 5-year-old self?
I think to just probably to stood stronger, to not put myself into the box that the family wanted, to just continue to be myself. I think a lot of that was kind of overshadowed, like when my parents got divorced and everything, because the focus was on child custody and I was stuck in the middle and all that stuff. So it was like I started losing my identity. And I think if that hadn't happened, or if I just felt stronger within myself, I could have kept the identity of myself as this gay person, even though I didn't really understand it. But I could have fought more for that, so that later on in life, it wouldn't have been a challenge. It just would have been, this is me.
Mm.
This is Joe, and deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. For other people who are currently not being their true self, and whether it be, gender identity or otherwise, what one top advice would you give them, Yanti?
Just, stick to your guns. Believe in, who you are, your true essence, and let that shine, because we need more people to shine in this world that seems very dull and gloomy, and that you're valuable and worthy.
Awesome. And Joe?
Probably just have patience with yourself, have grace with yourself, that, you'll know when it's the right time. But your family that you're born into isn't the family that you always have to stay with, that you're able to create your own family of people who will accept you. And if that isn't your born into family, so be it. There's other people out there that will love you for who you are. Go find them, and they will stay with you either in that closet or help you put a toe out and find your way out when you're ready. But don't ever let anyone come out for you. Don't let them take that power.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for sharing. That's really lovely. So you've been apart during the last 4 months, 5 months, Yanti being here. So how was the whole process? What's it like?
I think because our relationship already started off in 2 separate countries, and we spent the first 6 months before you came to visit, but we spent the first 6 months living apart, not knowing each other really. This actually hasn't been that hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
FaceTime, because we're in the same country.
Technology. Thank God.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
We're not having to Skype anymore, so that's nice.
Yes.
We're talking in real time, not 17, 18-hour differences.
Yeah.
So I think it's been good, and like the fact that she's had that one semester break, so she was able to come up and spend a couple of weeks with me. And then like this is my semester break, so I'm able to come down here and visit her.
Nice.
So it's been helpful. And then knowing that we only have another couple of months before she can come back for Christmas, so it's like we have these little breakups, moments,
to look forward to.
Yeah.
And it's been good, like FaceTiming every day, talking. I guess it's just a continued conversation. So if I'm, down in the dumps, or I need help, or something's bugging me, I can still text her, and we can still talk about it as well. So it's physically we're not there having a yarn in the afternoon, but we still make time.
And I think also because like since the first day we met, we have never gone a day without talking. So that's like 7 years of talking every day. Even if it's just a text, like, sorry, I won't have time to FaceTime you, but we've at least texted throughout the day. So and we have this weird connection, so sometimes we answer each other's questions without them being asked.
And this has started when we were dating.
Wow.
So I would think of something, and she would verbally
say it,
answer it, or say it.
Wow.
Or she would be thinking it, and I would message, text her, or call her and say, what the answer is. It's just that deep connection we've had since we started talking.
or like we can tell when each other is upset about something, and we just randomly will just start messaging about whatever the situation is, like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, like, I hope you're feeling okay, or are you okay, like, I know whatever, you know, blah 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 it is. And yeah, so I think that's also helped with this
Yeah.
time apart,
Yeah.
is because we are still able to keep that
You're
up.
still connected.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, good luck for the rest of the year and
Yeah.
then the rest of next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Don't forget to press the subscribe button so that the next video will go straight to your box. See you next time.